Good morning, bright morning consulting team. At least it's morning here in sunny Wisconsin. My name is Marty Van Hooley, and I'm excited to share my thoughts and insights as it relates to answering the application questions for the consulting position for Bright Morning. So I'm going to jump right in and give my insight as to the question. So question number one dealt with core values and what are one or two that I would share and how has my identity helped shape those. And I loved in Elena's Onward book, the 16 personalities test. And because I think there's so many elements of values that are pulled from that. I'm a defender, which means I'm a unique introvert in that I have some social skills that are refined. I'm compassionate. I'm hardworking. I'm loyal. I'm a defender of my family, all of which are true. And so I knew that it was necessary to answer the question to pull out one or two of those items. And I think the two that best fit me in this situation are the concept of justice and compassion. Justice from the perspective of treating people fairly. And that means looking at situations and making sure that we do what's right by them, given the context of the situation that they're in. And when I think about that concept, I was watching a video last summer on Netflix entitled "When They See Us." And "When They See Us," if you've watched that, is a documentary about the Central Park Five kids who were accused of raping and murdering a young lady in Central Park in New York. And to be honest with you, I was excited to watch the video because I'm interested in history and context and things like that. And honestly couldn't continue watching it. It was so upsetting to me the way in which the young boys were treated by some abuse of power, an eagerness to point fingers and solve a problem. And so from a justice perspective, that doesn't sit with me. I'm the kind of person who really is strongly embedded in the principles of fairness, that we do everything that we can to make sure that people are treated with empathy, treated with compassion, treated within the rules of the law, but always looking at their circumstances to ensure that they are treated in a way that is just. As a building principal, I always felt like, from a justice perspective, my biggest goal was to provide opportunity for kids. So certainly that our underserved kids needed to have the same types of exposures to quality academics and to opportunities that our quote unquote middle kids or top kids got. So that was very important to me. And as a defender, I eagerly fought for those kids. I think the other piece then is from a value concept is compassion. Very much a golden rule believer in that you treat others the way in which you'd want to be treated. So all of those traits, I believe, I get from my mom, super hardworking, salt of the earth, Midwestern lady. I'm a mama's boy, despite being one of three boys in my family. Grew up in a rural setting in northern Wisconsin, but always was on my mom's hip, helping her out to make sure that her life was as easy as possible. With two older siblings and her being the only female in the house was very important to me. So my identity comes from my background as a son and now as a husband and father. Those things are important. So long and short is my two core values would lie in justice and compassion. And I've worked for 3+ decades in the education setting to make sure that I'm a positive role model who treats people well, who's a people first person in my approach with folks. So the second question then deals with, have I ever been facilitating a group where there was a comment or a question that kind of came out of the blue that maybe was unexpected? As you'll see in my resume, my linked documents. I've done tons of presenting as not only as a high school principal with my own staff, but also in staff developing other staffs across the state of Wisconsin, nationally presented, done all kinds of things. This past summer is the one that I want to talk about. We were doing an assessment training in a neighboring school district. I was leading that event. It was a tough crowd. It was a group of secondary educators, which I'm used to, so I knew what I was getting myself into. And they were not happy to be there, let's put it this way. We had a rough winter in Wisconsin last year where we missed 5 and 6 days of school. So this school district had missed a number of days of school, and so they had to make up some time during the summer. So they were in June. So they weren't happy that their summer vacation was being cut into, and I don't think they were super thrilled with the assessment topic that their administrators had selected for them. So it was going fine. The crowd was starting to warm up to us, and as I was leading it, I felt a better connection with the group as the morning progressed. And I had a veteran staff member ask a question about assessment and then made a comment about this is an effective assessment practice that he utilizes. And you could tell that others in the room were not on board with this gentleman. In fact, the young lady who was sitting right in front of me whispered to one of her peers, she said, "Ooh, I can't wait to hear how Marty responds to this," because we were talking about effective instruction strategies, assessment strategies, and his was not. So I knew at that point that the last thing I wanted to do was to embarrass him or call him out. So I validated his participation. I thanked him for his insight. I asked, as any good coach would do, some probing questions about his thinking, and was able to steer the conversation in a manner that led us to have him come up with a couple of assessment strategies that he was using that were more favorable and were more effective. And then had others from the group provide insight. So I think one of my great strengths as an educator and as a presenter is the ability to think on my feet. So I was happy to validate his comments. I was happy to steer the conversation in a direction that made sense, and to also let the group know that we were going to be respectful of each other's opinions, even if we disagreed with them, and that we were going to build off of those responses. So in the end, it was a good experience, and I've had lots of those. As a building principal, you're constantly put on the spot by your staff and staff meetings about things, and you have to approach it in a humane way and in a reasonable way. And I've been blessed with really good common sense to be able to manage those situations. So I appreciate the opportunity this morning. I hope my responses weren't too lengthy, but I'm eager to move forward in your process because your position very much excites me, and I would love to join the Bright Morning Consulting team. Thank you and good luck.